we want to be very thoughtful of what we're doing because you're only as vulnerable as the one person you let down. Yeah. Right? And so I don't think there's a lot of people in the game that understand where the business world is going. And boy, what you do for a living, you know, at the position that you're doing it at, like, it's just hardcore. Yo, what up, vlog? Location, just like I'm sitting here right now in the Sydney, Australia airport. And the way I've been thinking about business down here is whether it's from modeling or surfing or footy kind of culture, when you understand the framework that you're playing in, you have a much better chance of succeeding. In this little chat I had with a first round pick of the New York Mets, I was really trying to articulate to him and his family, but really him, if you watch it carefully, even though I'm not directly addressing him, that you need to squeeze your moment. I'm yelling at all of you for squeezing this Facebook ads, Instagram influencers moment the way I didn't as much as I wanted to with Google back in 2002, because it's a moment in time. If you're an athlete and you're lucky enough to be drafted in New York fucking City, you need to fucking work. And whether you're drafted in New York, LA, or San Francisco, or if it's Dallas, Green Bay, or Detroit, you need to be smart about the unique opportunities within the marketplace. The framework of this conversation is take advantage of your surroundings. If you're going to UCLA or USC this year, take advantage of that environment. If you're going to Duke or North Carolina, understand and take advantage of that. If you're going to travel through Europe, understand the room you're playing in and the advantages, the fruits that you could pick from. You'll see that in this interview. Well, thanks for reaching out, and I've been looking forward to getting together.
Yeah, no, I've been very impressed from what I've seen. Very impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you.
So I've seen you going from the ground up.
Thank you.
And listening to you talk about the agency game and what you feel that you guys do different for the kids out there. I wanted to come in and talk a little bit about social media.
Sure.
Kind of speak to my son a little bit about it and what you feel about how you can help kids with regards to what you think other agencies are not doing and
Sure.
what they are doing.
So, given the opportunity that we're all sitting here together, I'm thrilled to do you want to, given that you have the most context, obviously you have most context on your son and you've been able to context on me, what can I bring you the most value of? Is this a theoretical conversation? Is there some details underneath? I'm, to be very honest, as you know, where we sit with baseball versus football and things of that nature, I'm obsessed with the notion of paying forward. I think karma is the most practical thing in the world. Even your first email caught my attention from the vibe, the second one, black coffee, all that stuff. So it's all good vibes, it's all family that way. What, at the highest levels, I've been in two businesses in my life. My dad had a liquor store, so I've been in the liquor and wine business, and now I'm in the advertising Madison Avenue industry. Along with my dad and along with my brother, we've been able to build much bigger businesses quicker than anybody has in both those spaces. And they had one common theme, which was I think what I'm good at is CAT scanning the industry. And when I looked at them, I was like, wow, this is what they're doing wrong. I'm gonna do this. This being probably our third venture, VaynerSports. I've never looked at an industry, and because I'm an investor in Uber and Facebook and Twitter and all these things, I look at a lot of businesses, not just the two I've run. I've never looked at a business more broken. Now, I'm empathetic to the agents, to be very honest. I don't think it's a great business. No, it's not. Making small percentages, having nobody really locked up. You can have a kid for a long time, you get fired before the real money comes in. It's not a great business, and I think when a business is not great, it leads to bad behavior. Sure. At the same token, I don't think AJ and I are necessarily in it to become rich. And so that allows us to be a little more altruistic and, to be very frank, what I'm most interested in, which is to fuck it up a little bit. They just don't care. Very basically, they don't care about their kids. And honestly, I get that. It's business. But that's the vulnerability. The reason we're being so thoughtful, and listen, it's a real player, it's a real situation, and we've had some other real situations in the NBA and things of that nature, is we want to be very thoughtful of what we're doing because you're only as vulnerable as the one person you let down. Yeah. Right? And so I don't think there's a lot of people in the game that understand where the business world is going. And boy, what you do for a living, you know, at the position that you're doing it at, like, it's just hardcore, right? You look, it's just, for me, it's data, right? When you're the human, like people think they're going to the Hall of Fame, as they should. How the fuck do you think they got there in the first place? When you look at the data of the outcomes of careers, I'm sure you guys know better than I do. You're holding your breath, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. It's hardcore. So there's some good advantages in baseball with guaranteed contracts and things if you can get to that place. But for me, the biggest thing is you have to strike and squeeze. When the outcome of like this great thing has this low of percentages, you have to squeeze the fuck out of it while you've got the leverage. And so you know, I tell a lot of, I'm a big Jets fan. I tell these kids when they're a Jet, I'm like, look, you're in New York City. Like, I'm meeting with you. You think I would meet with you if you weren't if you weren't number 32 of the New York Jets? Like, I would never spend five, you know? And these kids don't. I think of Dexter McDougal. I think about all these kids. Like, while you're when you're a draft pick of that team, like the amount of people that are like ruling the world, especially New York, that are diehard Met fans, that really give a shit right now and may not. Listen, I'm an old-time baseball card collector. Brian Taylor was the first pick overall of the New York Yankees, and we all cared.
I remember. I'm a diehard Yankees fan. Trust me, it hurts my heart that he got drafted.
Did you grow up a Yankee fan? I love it. I get it. But it's still great that he's here, man. It's the best. But right, Brian Taylor, forget about the contract he got, which is probably why we all knew who he was, because it was a big one at the time. You know, every CEO in this is the biggest city in the world, call it what it is, cared about, you know, a third of them. That's right. And so for me, the most important thing, like if I was part of this team, an enormous amount. Now, first of all, I think the other thing that's going to allow us to be successful, and the thing that you should be always thinking about, is does the person representing you have empathy? And why I think about empathy so much in this business is my strategy would be like, hey, my man, we need to meet everybody who gives a shit about the Mets that matters in New York, that can put you on, whether that's advice, whether that's getting you business opportunities, whether that's writing you a $50,000 check when you're probably worth $1,500 as a face of a marketing campaign because they can afford it and they love the fucking Mets. Let's do that. On the flip side, the reason I said empathy is if he's like, man, I'm just working on this third pitch. Like, I don't like being around people. I don't want to go do this. I don't want people up in my, you've got to have empathy. So I think for us uniquely, because of the marketing machine, we definitely have to be smart and listen carefully of like, who says they want that? Who needs that? But
Derek Morgan's a vegan. I had a call at the chicken wing restaurant. I'm not going to bring that to Derek. You know, that's not authentic to him. He won't advertise anything he won't put into his body.
And that's why the agents are vulnerable. These agents, the CAs, they've got 6 moves, and you've got to fit into their moves. They're going to try to get you a sneaker deal. They're going to try to, you know, they've got 6 moves. And so what we're trying to do is create a Swiss Army knife instead of a hammer. And then, to be very frank, win on the only thing you can win on, which is if he quit tomorrow because he fell in love with yoga retreats and that is his calling in life, be his homie for that too. And I think that's why we're going to win ultimately. Because if you're in the business of the kid for life, regardless, as long as they're not a complete piece of crap and like changed on you, and we spend so much time on like, okay, he's from a small town, what happens when he hits the big city? Like, we're just trying to, because we don't want listen, we don't need, we can afford to not be in the business of getting the phone call at 2 a.m. So we don't need to be in that, and we're really not. And the other thing is you get your heart broken. I already have. 4 seconds in the business, we signed a kid who then fired us before he went to the league, and I watched it. I'm like, I'm heartbroken. I love him, and so like we want to be very thoughtful. So I think the way we're gonna beat it, but like I think the most important thing for you from afar, and I haven't done a lot of homework, so I don't want to bullshit, but squeeze it while you've got leverage. Not a lot of human beings get to be the number 1 pick of a team in New York. It's a real thing. It's really real. You know.
I think that.
You know what's funny? And let me tell you something. It's not even like a young or old. I respect that, and I don't know, and I'm sure he'll speak for himself. Like, I didn't understand either. Like, by the way, you don't even understand how. I bet you don't understand how lucky you are to even be a human being when the math is 400 trillion to 1. How can you? You're a human being. It's what you know. You know, like, you know, he can't feel what it feels like to only be able to throw 57 like the way I can feel it. He just doesn't know what that feels like. He did that when he was 7, right? Like, you know, the key is empathy. You're right. He doesn't in the same way that all of us sitting here can't. You can't. What you've got, you take for granted by the nature of being a human being. It's all of us around each other that see it, right? And so for me, it's not about, I have no interest in being, you know, I'm surely not here. Listen, I'm empathetic, I love it. I'm even more excited now about the meeting based on the way it's going, but I have no interest in being like, hey, listen to me, kid, like I fucking made it, you know, that doesn't work. The reason so many kids resonate with me and why I have 2 million followers on Instagram is I went to USC football team and spoke to a football team like, yo, for 91% of you, this is the greatest year of your life.
I saw that.
And because it's true. It's not because I'm cool or I came in with swag. It's because it's true. Go look at every fucking person that was drafted in the first round in Major League Baseball and look at what's happened. A lot of good because there's a lot of fucking talent there, but a lot more bad than you would think than just because it's life. It's the truth, right? So for me, it's super compounded because of the local kid and how big the money is in New York. You can get, if you were the first pick overall for the Royals, off the field money is different than being a first round pick for the Mets in New York as a local kid and all the advantages you have. That's something you need to debate. And it's hard because it's a counter pull from what, no question you should be focused on just being a great fucking, like I get it, right? Like that makes sense. That's what should be going. So finding that right balance, I think is super hard and a challenge, but super important because it becomes, I spend a lot of time with kids that just regret. It's just regret, right? And it's, sports is fucking, you know, I grew up probably like a lot of people, which is like, fuck man, I was real sad around 3rd or 4th grade when I realized it wasn't gonna happen. You know, we all grew up wanting to do what you do. But as now that I'm a 41-year-old man and now that entrepreneurship is so cool, it's even easier to say, fuck man, I was like, fuck, thank God I wasn't an athlete. It's over when you're 30. Like everything that, you know, like for a lot of, I think about running, Curtis Martin, you know, running backs, like, it's, you know, 28 years old running back, you're finished? Like, what the fuck? You're a kid, right? Like we've lived it, right? We've been 28. So I think it's just all those feelings, all those thoughts. And I think it's the balance of like following your intuition and your gut, even when you're so lucky to have good voices around you, pulling super hard of like doing what you want to do and believing, and that's real. In parallel, in opposite direction of listening to everything and filtering it. Not saying no to anything up front, just so you hear it, and then you being the filter. Too many kids just say no up front because it's from their dad, it's from somebody else. It's like, fuck you, I'm not gonna be like you, I'm gonna fucking make all that shit. So many people just don't even hear it. The only piece of advice is hear it, and then make your decisions. Not for anybody but yourself, not for that man, not for her, nobody, for you. Because that's how you win, that's how there's no resentment, that's how it's real family all the way through. I think people break on both parts. They don't listen to everything. You should listen to everything. And they do make decisions for other people besides themselves. And those two macro vulnerabilities to me are what is really my anchor advice. And squeeze the shit out of your situation because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity.
I had a conversation with his agent. I told his agent, and I told him to watch you. I said, you guys got to get this, because if you don't, the industry's going to go this way.
Yeah.
I just have that feeling of what you're doing. And I look at his opportunity in this city, who he is, and he has the same feeling that you have with your success and where you're going. He's the same way.
And you know what's crazy for me? Unless I have a terminal disease, I should be good. He doesn't. I've become real empathetic to that. You know, like I literally every night, I'm like, hope I don't die, hope I'm not sick, like hope nobody I care about is sick, because that's my only kryptonite. I'm, especially now, it's over, other than something tragic, right? To the 7 people I give a fuck about, which will slow me down for a year, or me, could slow me down completely. You get to one pin, right? That's scary as fuck, man. I don't envy, and I respect the shit out of the psychology of that. Which then creates even a greater sense of urgency for me of like, hey, be thoughtful of how you want to do this. At the same token, putting your face up, putting yourself out there and doing things, that's a DNA thing. Not everybody's an extrovert. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody wants to sell out.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Big aspect between you and I, right? I don't want to go on stage or anything like that, so DNA matters too.
and when you force kids, so I think it's being thoughtful. My big thing is reverse engineering. Dissect the shit, like for, you know, if we start a baseball division, he was first, dissect the shit, like have real talk, be like, I don't want you to do shit. I just want to deliver on what you want me to do. And if you want to get a deal with, you know, Kit, the brand, versus this, or if you want to fucking, you tell me you want to do a deal with Bape because you think it's cool, great, let's reverse engineer it. And you don't, if it's just money and you don't give a shit about which bottled water, it's just money, which I have empathy for. I would do that with things that I don't care about, that I'm not against. You may not drink alcohol, and there's rules and all that, but you may not drink bottled water and you don't want to do it because that's how you roll, mazel tov. You know, like just figuring it out and reverse engineering and creating avenues.
I think that's something that I look at him and we were down by Babe and down by Kip, and these guys support Jordan to the nth degree. It's, you know, is he in position now to make those kind of deals? And I think
he's in position now to make those kind of deals with the people that become Bape before they're Bape.
right.
I think he is. I think if you're a New York, I mean, again, I'm making way too many assumptions just on the clothes he's wearing and the vibe. Like, yes, I think there are deals. We've already quickly made a name for ourselves for getting dollars in places that people don't think they are, whether off of my equity or just being strategically smart. You know, 5 minutes. Can't. Gotta go. We're hurting. Fuck. Okay. 2 minutes. I would reverse engineers Queens-based Mets spot. Like, there's a lot of smart things that could be done. So I think the answer is yes, but I don't think Adidas is signing him to a Yeezy deal, right? So, like, you know, it's just being realistic, finding interests, and it's all about finding opportunities. It's finding startups that are sitting with more money than they know what to do with, and trying to make a name for themselves in New York, and then compelling them to understand that this is the guy. And then it's finding the right partners. We're producing content for Postmates and things of that nature, and AJ can walk you through a little bit more. And I know that you gotta go too. So, but like, keep putting pressure on them to think about it this way. But the answer is, whether it's too early or too not, you don't get unless you ask. Right? And honestly, you don't strike me as a man who needs to wait, or, you know, and if that's appropriate, like, you don't need to wait for your agent, you know? Like, you just do your thing too.
Well, agent wants to come meet with you, so I said, just set something up, and I also heard that you are a card collector, so we brought you that one.
That's what's up. I appreciate it. That's great. I appreciate that. Can I have the case? I don't want to, hell yeah, I don't want to bend this stuff. Ultra Pro's still around? Jesus Christ. This is how I started my business. Listen, we have a lot of conversations about a lot of things. Always talk. I didn't take this meeting just for kicks and giggles. I really wanted to meet and say hello and say what's up and like see where the paths lead. Feel free to reach out ad hoc anytime.
You got it.
And I will meet that guy.
Okay.
You know, feel free to set that up.
Okay.
And I wish you success.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Oh, man.
appreciate it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Such a pleasure. Hope you guys enjoy it. Fun fact, coffee in Australia is just fucking good. I'll see you soon. Leave a comment. Please leave me a comment of your favorite young athlete. That's what I want to see in the YouTube comments. Let's make this a little more interactive, a little more fun. Thank you so much for watching the fucking vlog.